Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai Vishnu Bhad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtottara Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Vishnu Bhad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtottara Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Canto 3, chapter number 7, text number 41. Can you turn the volume down, please? Sarve Vedascha Yagyascha Sarve Vedascha Yagyascha Tapodanani Chanaga Jiva Bhaya Pradhanasya Jiva Bhaya Pradhanasya Nakur Viran Kalamapi Nakur Viran Kalamapi Sarve Vedascha Yagyascha Tapodanani Chanaga Jivabhaya Pradhanasya Nakur Viran Kalamapi. Please repeat word for word. Sarve, all kinds of Vedaha, divisions of the Vedas. Cha, also. Yagya, sacrifices. Cha, also. Tapaha, penances. Danani, charities. Cha, and Anaga, O spotless one. Jiva, the living entity. Abhaya, immunity from material pangs. Pradhanasya, of one who gives such assurance. Na, not. Kurviran, can he equalized? Can be. Can be. Kalam, even partially. Api, certainly. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. O spotless one, your answers to all these questions will grant immunity from all material miseries. Such charity is greater than all Vedic charities, sacrifices, penances, etc. Purport. The highest perfectional work of charity is to give people in general immunity from the anxieties of material existence. This can be done only by performing activities in devotional service to the Lord. Such knowledge is incomparable. Cultivation of the knowledge in the Vedas, performance of sacrifice, and distribution of munificent charities altogether cannot form even a part of the immunity from the pangs of material existence that is gained from devotional service. The charity of Maitreya not only will help Vidura, but due to its universal nature will deliver all others in all times. Thus, Maitreya is immortal. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna everyone, thank you for coming for Sunday morning Bhagavatam class. So we are about to finish this chapter, further inquiries by Vidura. This is the second last verse. So as we know, Nrsimha Prabhu gave a nice recap yesterday of what's going in the chapter. So we'll just talk a little today about the topic in hand. Prabhupada mentions this very beautiful purport where he says, thus Maitreya is immortal. So materially, as we know, nobody can be immortal because everyone takes birth, everyone has to die. There is no way to get out of it, in materially speaking. Everyone will take birth. There are many people who are trying. I recently heard the CEO of Amazon, what's his name? Bezos. Jeff. He's trying to invest in money, a lot of his, because he's got wealth that we cannot even conceive. Because he's got a lot of wealth. But that's still a little splendor. A little spark from the splendor of Krishna. So Krishna's got more wealth. That if we can't perceive Jeff Bezos' wealth, imagine how can we perceive how opulence of Krishna. Yeah, so I was just reading that he has invested a lot of money in these researchers and these scientists who are going to get him not to die, to become immortal. So he's planning on doing that, But we all know, the Shastras say, it's not possible, materially speaking. Not possible to avoid death, because that's just part of the nature. Whatever has taken birth has to die. But Prabhupada mentions that thus Maitreya is immortal. So what is immortal? What does it mean to become immortal? Hiranyakashipu took a benediction, asked for a benediction from Brahma to become immortal. But what did Brahma say? I am the creator, but I cannot give you this material benediction you're asking for, because I'm also mortal. I'll also have to die. This is the creator speaking. It's no one else. It's just the creator himself who has created this material realm. He's speaking that I have to die as well at some point. So I cannot give you what you're asking. But Prabhupada mentions that Maitreya has become immortal. So this is an amazing thing to realize, that spiritual knowledge is the highest benediction. If a person who is fully realized and is in full spiritual understanding of the supreme absolute truth becomes immortal. That's immortal. So as we know, Maitreya Muni, when did Maitreya Muni exist? Very long time ago. But we're still talking about him. That's immortal. He's still here with us, speaking. Who else is immortal? Prabhupada's immortal. Because he's given us this beautiful scripture studies, these beautiful translations and purports of Bhaktivedanta purports has made him immortal. Because wherever we go in the world, we have an ISKCON center, right? wherever we go in the world. Prabhupada has set up many ISKCON centers. He's worked very hard for us to have this supreme knowledge of the absolute truth. So, it's Raja Vidya. Raja Vidya, this is the most supreme knowledge. Raja Vidya, highest knowledge. There's no knowledge better than this knowledge of the absolute truth. So we should try to understand this knowledge. All these great acharyas have given us charity, as Prabhupada mentions in this translation, that, O spotless one, your answers to all these questions will grant immunity from all material miseries. Such charity is greater than all Vedic charities. Now, when we read the Shastra or the Vedas, for fruitive activities, there is many charities mentioned, right? One has to give charity. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, there's 3 kinds of charity. Charity done in mode of goodness, when it's given without expectation of return at the right time to the right person. That's called mode of goodness charity. With the passion, when there is a little bit of expectation for return. And ignorance, what is ignorance charity? When you give something to whoever, doesn't matter. It's not the right person. So you just give charity. So it's not wasting money, really. It's not even charity, to be honest. As I remember, I was sharing with the class a few weeks ago when I was speaking to one of my cousins. We were discussing about this topic of charity. He said he gave $100 to some homeless guy, and he thought he solved his problems of life. Like, how long did the $100 going to solve his problems? Maybe a day, maybe 2. He can buy food, he can buy, I don't even know what he's going to buy. He can buy anything he sees. So, could be buying drugs, he could be buying alcohol. So instead of solving his problem, you just gave him more problems. So we cannot say for certain. So that's why we should be careful where our money goes to. If we have made money, if we are making money, we should be very careful how we spend it. Prabhupada was very careful. There was a very beautiful pastime I think it was in Mayapur or Vrindavan. I just heard this story from Atul Krishna Prabhu when I was in Mayapur. So Prabhupada was in Mayapur or Vrindavan, I don't know where, but there's a lot of beggars in India sitting on the streets, right? There's a lot of beggars. And they would always ask for money, and Prabhupada, once there were so many beggars going up to Prabhupada and asking for money, and Prabhupada just gave him 1 rupee. 1 rupee. And these beggars were like, what is that? There's 1 rupee. Prabhupada's like, well, you're a beggar. So that's the pastime of Prabhupada. He would give charity, 1 rupee, it's not going to do anything, because he knows the highest you can give him is material knowledge. But, this material knowledge, this spiritual knowledge. This material little money is not going to solve, maybe for a second or 2. It's going to solve this problem, but it's not going to solve this big problem of life and death, birth and death, old age and disease. So to get out of those big problems, we have to give people the highest knowledge. And what is the highest knowledge? The one we are discussing right now, Krishna Katha. That's the highest knowledge. So many of these our great acharyas in our sampradaya have spent years and years of hard work. I was just reading how Jiva Goswami, Rupa Goswami wrote these verses, of pure devotional service to give it to us. Does anyone know how many verses Jiva Goswami wrote or spoke? How many? It was like 4 lakh verses. But 400,000 verses he wrote. He gave it to us to help us understand. So this is the highest charity. When the great acharyas engage fully in giving others this great supreme knowledge. Jiva Goswami didn't have to write anything. He knew everything. He's already a pure devotee. He's going back to Godhead, undoubtedly. But because that's the parampara of passing on what you have to others, that is called the highest charity. When you give people the highest spiritual knowledge through the chain of disciplic succession, that is the greatest charity. Now, Rupa Goswami or Sanatana Goswami or Jiva Goswami or any great acharya in our sampradaya could have just easily, said, I'll just chant Hare Krishna, I don't need to engage. Like we know Narottam Das Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, they sung these great poetries. They have made commentaries on these great translations and verses for us to understand better. Otherwise, it's very easy to get bewildered, because sometimes there may seem so much contradiction In the Vedas, for example, there's many people in India that recite Bhagavatam daily, but they still impersonalists. They're still Mayavadis. They still don't see Krishna as the absolute truth. So what is the point of reciting that Bhagavatam when you missed out the whole essence of Bhagavatam? So that's why it's so necessary to read the commentaries given to us by great acharyas. When we read the Bhaktivedanta purports, we can clearly understand, Imagine reading Bhagavad Gita, as it is, without Prabhupada's purports. You just be bewildered very much, Like there's so many Bhagavad Gitas around the world, right? How we cannot even imagine how many translations or interpretations there are. But how many devotees were made from these interpretations? Hardly zero. I don't know. Does anyone know? There were any devotees before Prabhupada wrote Bhagavad Gita as it is and start spreading? No. When Prabhupada wrote Bhagavad Gita as it is, it just went all over the world. And it was, when it went to Russia, even Russia, it was translated. And from one little copy became what? Millions of copies. So thousands of copies. So this is the power of a pure devotee. This is the power of a great acharya. When a great acharya is in total sync with the goal of Lord Chaitanya, we give the great charity in the form of spiritual knowledge. So this is what we should learn. And that's what we should do, is follow in the footsteps of our great acharyas who have spent a lot of time and energy in writing these or helping us understand the spiritual philosophy of Krishna consciousness. So, all these great acharyas, they are following in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya, because it's only the mission of Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya himself appeared to give charity. We know Krishna when he was in Dwarka, when he was in this full opulence, he would give like 10,000 cows. And, Nanda Maharaj on Nanda Utsav, when Krishna was born, would give like what? A lot of cows in charity, because that's what a king is supposed to do. That's what a ruler is supposed to do. But Lord Chaitanya wasn't a king, but he still appeared. When he appeared, what did he give in charity? What was he giving in charity? Pure love of Godhead. He's just giving in charity. He's like, take whoever he sees, he doesn't discriminate. In many of the songs from Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Narottam Das Thakur we can read, or Lokanath Goswami, they say that Lord Chaitanya is not discriminating what caste you are, what religion you are, what tradition you are, what age you are. No discriminations at all or whatsoever. Just take love of Godhead. Krishna Prema. Full Krishna Prema in full version, take for free without any expectation. So that is the greatest charity. And Lord Chaitanya himself has appeared. He is the most confidential incarnation of Krishna. He's Krishna himself. Krishna tu Bhagavan Swayam. Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who has appeared to give us Krishna Prema. That he had so many disciples, so many students, so many followers who followed the tradition that Lord Chaitanya started. So this is what we should understand, the mission and the mood of Lord Chaitanya. The mood of Lord Chaitanya has always been preaching. So, it's tough times, lockdown is happening, but our sincere devotees or our sincere leaders are still engaged in preaching through online or whatever possible measures we can take. We are technologically getting advanced, or so-called advancement in technology, but we can use that in Krishna's service. Yukta Vairagya. Prabhupada has given us this beautiful way to use everything and anything in Krishna's service. There's a beautiful story. I remember I've shared this a few times as well. This story is one of my favorite stories. So at Prabhupada's time, he was giving initiation, and there was this new Western American who just came in. He was just sitting, and Prabhupada told him, well, you should get initiated tomorrow. And he's like, oh, okay. So he sat in the initiation. He didn't know anything about initiation. He didn't know what to bring, what's the code of conduct. You have to give something to the spiritual master, none of that. So he came, and then later after initiation, he was told, oh, well, you're initiated, you have to give something to your spiritual master. So what did he give? He gave a second-hand towel. He had a towel with him, and he gave that towel to Prabhupada. Imagine giving your spiritual master a used towel. And Prabhupada's like, this is useless. What am I going to do with this? So I don't have anything else to give. So next day, when he came, he saw that Prabhupada had used that towel as a mat for people to come and sit and hear Bhagavatam. So Prabhupada knew very smartly how to engage everything and anything in Krishna's service. So this is a very, very good science to engage anything in Krishna's service in the right time and the right place and the right circumstances. So this is what we should learn from our great Acharya. How can we engage? First of all, we should learn how to engage our mind and senses in Krishna's service. Then think about engaging others in Krishna's devotional service. So devotional service is the key. I was actually reading this beautiful Leela, Chaitanya Leela, where Lord Chaitanya himself, who was giving charity of the love of God to one of his devotees, he told that, he wanted to just renounce everything, and he told him, don't worry about renouncing, just keep everything and give charity, perform religious pastimes. So I would share this pastime a little because I've been reading, it's a very beautiful pastime, and I've been very blessed to be able to have read this pastime. So we'll touch on this pastime. It's the pastime of a great family of, what's his name? Gopinath Patnaik. You know Gopinath Patnaik? So Gopinath Patnaik is brother of Ramananda Roy. So, and Ramananda Roy, we know, is a pure devotee. And even the whole family is actually devotee of Lord Chaitanya. So what, Ramananda Roy, his brother Vaninath Roy, and then there's Gopinath Patnaik, the father, what's the name of the father? Bhavananda Roy. All these are great devotees of Lord Chaitanya. So Gopinath Patnaik is, all these, Ramananda Roy, Gopinath Patnaik, they're all engaged in governmental activities. They're all engaged in governmental affairs where they collect taxes or collect money collection, and then they give it to the government. On behalf of the government, they collect the revenue. So we have like tax collectors and stuff, like revenue departments and stuff. So they're also doing the same. They're collecting all the revenue for the tax or something, and then they're giving it to the government. So once Gopinath Patnaik collected revenue, but he did not give the full amount to the government. He used some of it for his own personal sense gratification. Now, this is also inconceivable for us to understand how a pure devotee is performing sense gratification, but we can only understand it through, because it's only to illustrate the pastime of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So nowhere we should think that, even pure devotees can sometimes engage in pure devotional, in sense gratification, so we have a right to do so. No. That's different time, different place, and different circumstances. So Gopinath Patnaik is a very elevated, he's on the higher material realm than any ordinary being. Because he's dealing not in hundreds and thousands of rupees, he's dealing in millions of rupees. So there's like a lot of money that time, that he has to collect. And there was quite a lot of money, big sum that he owed the government. Now, the situation was as such that he used up money, and the government asked the King Prataparudra. So King Prataparudra and his associates were asking, you have taken up our money, it's the government's money, you should not take government's money. How are you going to give it back? You've used it for your personal sense gratification or your personal needs. So how are you going to pay it back? And Gopinath Patnaik said that, it's good, well, I have used it, but I can pay you in a little time. Give me some time and I'll pay everything off. But I can start off by selling my personal property, and once I've sold it, I'll be able to repay your debt. So now he's in, 200,000 consols or something. In that thing, the measurement was different. So, yeah, so quite a lot of money, a very, very considerable amount of money, big amount that he owes. So Gopinath Patnaik, what did he do? He said, but you can start off by I can sell you my horses. He has about 10 to 12 horses, very good quality horses. He said, you can buy these horses from me at a fair price. And that will be a start of me paying you back. But slowly by slowly, I'll start selling my other personal property, and I'll be able to pay off your debt in a little time. But just give me a little time. So the prince, King Prataparudra appointed one of his princes, right, to go solve this issue. And this prince came. Now this prince was a little envious of Gopinath Patnaik. So what did he do? And he had this problem, he cannot look someone in the eye. He has to look somewhere around, right? When he talks to someone, he'll look up and down on side, so you can't look, he's a problem, some sort of problem. So when Gopinath Patnaik was talking to the prince said, you know, the valuation for the horses, what is the best price for these horses to be sold, was being done by the prince, because he had a little knowledge about what's a good horse, how much does a good horse cost. So he was appointed this task to value the actual price of the horses. So, but because he was a bit cheeky, you know, as he was a bit envious, so he didn't give the fair price of the horses. He gave a little lower, you know, he gave a little, you know, sometimes we go outside in Kali Yuga, try to get currency exchange or something, you know, most of the time we get cheated by these so-called people, you know, because this is the mentality of Kali Yuga, cheating mentality, you know, so that's the part of human being. So, yeah, so the prince cheated by giving him the less value. And then, you know, he got very upset, Gopinath Patnaik, because he owes a very big sum and he's still getting cheated. You know, didn't able to get the fair price for his horses. So he just passed the comment to the prince. You know, we shouldn't do that. When we see someone senior or someone in authority, we shouldn't, you know, we try to be humble. Otherwise it could get us in trouble. You know, it's very easy to get us in trouble if you don't follow the authority, if you know, make bad comments about the authority. So what did Gopinath Patnaik do? He made a comment, you know, my horses, they only look straight. They don't look up, down, side, anyway. You know, he's mocking the prince. And the prince got very upset. Now the prince decided, that's it. You know, those times were great. You don't have to think twice. The prince has decided now he's going to die because he has upset me. So the prince devised some new technique. He went to King Prataparudra and told him, you know, this guy, he's such a rascal, he stole all our money, all the government's money, and all used up for his own gain. We should just put him at, they call this Kanga. You know what's Kanga? Changa, something C-A-N-G, that's what it was said. I don't know how to pronounce it. But it means, it was like a elevated platform with swords underneath. So you just throw the person when you king. It's almost like hanging someone. When you hang someone, you hang them, and then you pull the liver or something, and then the thing goes, and you just die. So it's something similar. There's like swords and stuff, and you get thrown on those swords and then lose your life. So he said we should put him there. You know, put Gopinath Patnaik over there because he has been very unfaithful, and then we should try and get the money from him. You know. So king said, yeah, whatever you want to do, just get this sorted. I just want the money. I don't know how you get it. So that's what he devised, and he put him on the thing. And at that time, so this is a little story of what's going on with Gopinath Patnaik. And so the devotees, also the friends and associates of Gopinath Patnaik now run, servants of Gopinath Patnaik, because he's a great elevated post, right? He's a senior member of the government, so he has a lot of servants as well. So these lot of servants go running to Lord Chaitanya and tell Lord Chaitanya about, you know, your great devotee, you know, this devotee of yours is getting punished. He's getting, you know, he's almost about to lose his life. You should do something, Lord Chaitanya, you should save him. And Lord Chaitanya is like, well, then he inquired, what's going on? What's the whole matter? Then everyone just explained him the whole matter of how he owed the government money. And then Lord Chaitanya said, well, what can I do? It's his mistake. He has used up government's money. Lord Chaitanya even said, you know, it's the most abominable activity. You steal someone's money, that's abominable. But you steal government's money, that's even more abominable. Now we have government that steal our money. So it's even more abominable. So this is what's going on. So he stole government's money, and Lord Chaitanya said, well, I'm just a sannyasi. You know, what can I do? I can't, what do you want me to go around begging for 200,000, whatever consoles he owes? I cannot ask people for that much money. I'm just a sannyasi, and it's his own fault. You know, he's getting punished for his own fault. How can you blame the king? The king is not at the fault. What can I do? You know, and Lord Chaitanya was very upset with this because he's being disturbed for someone's material, you know, material situation. Like Gopinath Patnaik's material situation, he's being a bit disturbed because, you know, the devotees, they don't know what else to do. The servants, they don't know because the highest authority has punished him. So who can save now? And Lord Chaitanya then very bravely tells, well, I cannot do anything to help him. If you want to help him, pray to Lord Jagannath. Jagannath is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He can do whatever he pleases. You know, so you pray to Jagannath and he'll take care. And by that time, now, Gopinath Patnaik is already about to die. But that's not the only thing that happened. The whole family of Gopinath Patnaik, Ramananda Roy, Vaninath Roy, Bhavananda Roy, they all got arrested. All of them were arrested because they have to pay now. Because they still owe the money. So they have to find the government is trying to find, the prince is trying to find every single way to get the money from the family. Because in that time, when a person owes, it's not only the person that owes, it's the whole family that owes money. So the whole family is being arrested. And Lord Chaitanya was very disturbed by that because they were great devotees. They were sincere devotees of Lord Chaitanya. But Lord Chaitanya, because he's a sannyasi, he's playing the part of a sannyasi, he said, I can't act anything. You pray to Lord Jagannath, only Lord Jagannath can give them protection. So, as soon as he said that, and everyone probably started praying, and then there was this police officer that went up to King Prataparudra and told him, why are you killing him? There's no point of killing this guy. He's been very loyal and very faithful servant for the government for a very long time. There's no need to kill him. He just owes you a little bit of money. You can get that little bit of money from him. If you kill him, how are you going to get the money anyway? Most of his brothers are renunciates, right? How are they going to pay you? So he's the only one who can pay you. So what's the point of killing him? Then he explained the whole situation, and then King Prataparudra realized, I've been cheated by my own prince. He's told me some false stories to get him to kill him. So he said, King Prataparudra said, I did not know any of this. So King Prataparudra decided, okay, now I don't want to kill him. I need my money. I don't want to kill him. Why should I kill him? He has not done anything wrong other than steal, then take a little bit of my money. For a king, it's just a little money. For us, it's like big amount of money, but for a king, it's very little money. So he said, it's just a little bit of money. Just don't have to kill him. We can take him out. And everyone was amazed. Everyone was shocked. How did that happen? What arrangement has Lord Chaitanya made? Because everyone knew Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's controlling, he's protecting his devotees. And then the whole family was released, and then Bhavananda Roy with all his 5 sons go up to Lord Chaitanya to get his blessings. And when Bhavananda Roy sees Lord Chaitanya, he's just full dandavats, pays obeisances, and folds his hands and tells Lord Chaitanya that you have saved my family. Just like you saved Pandavas in the time when they were in the forest, and from all of the dangers, you have saved my family similarly, in a very beautiful way, as you always do. And all my sons, Ramananda Roy, Vaninath Roy, Gopinath Patnaik, they're all great. They're all your servants only. So you do whatever you feel pleased with them. You do whatever you feel you have to do. So he was and Lord Chaitanya just embraced him and said, you are the greatest, you're my great servants. What can I do? I'm just a sannyasi. It's only Lord Jagannath who is doing everything. And then Gopinath Patnaik comes forward and tells how the king. So this is where we should know the mercy of the Lord, and how even, when we have material desires,